welcome back to the Bites Bites podcast. I am your host, Kristin King. And yes, I am still here. And I know, you may feel like you just accidentally wandered into a podcast graveyard. You've checked your feed, you've seen my face and other places and thought, wait, did she just drop off the face of the earth? And honestly, fair, completely fair. I have not put out a lot of episodes this year, but I'm here, I'm alive, I'm caffeinated to a degree that my doctor would probably not endorse, and I have what I think is a genuinely excellent excuse. And I don't say that lightly because I definitely hate excuses. So today, we're gonna do something a little different. No guests, no interview, just me, this microphone, and probably a very strong cup of coffee within arm's length or the water I should be drinking that my doctor wants me to drink. Because today, I want to talk about something that has consumed, pun fully intended, the last stretch of my life. Something I've been building for a long time, something I'm ridiculously and almost embarrassingly proud of. We're going to talk about the book.
Wow.
Yep, the book. It's real. It exists. Hi, this is Kristin in the present. I forgot to give you the title of the book. The book title is Securing What Feeds Us, Cybersecurity in Food and Agriculture. Now back to the episode. It's almost in your hands, and I cannot wait to tell you everything about it. So grab your coffee, your tea, your snack of choice, a beverage, an adult beverage, and let's get into it. But first, seriously first, I need to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who stuck around, to everyone who sent a DM asking if I was okay, to everyone who shared an old episode, who left a review, who tagged a friend and said, you have to check out this podcast. That means everything. I see it, I feel it, and it generally kept me going on the days I was staring at a blinking cursor at midnight, wondering what on earth I was doing. Writing a book is, look, I want to be honest with you because that's the kind of thing that we do here. Writing a book is not like anything I've ever done professionally. And I say that as someone who has built programs from scratch, who has walked into rooms where I was the only person talking about cybersecurity in the food industry, maybe even the only woman, and had to explain why that was a real thing and not just something I made up. Writing this book required a different kind of energy. It required me to take every conversation I've literally ever had, every case study I've ever researched, every, wait, have you heard about what happened to that food company or this particular incident type moment, and turn it into something organized, referenced, useful, and readable. And maybe a little bit of humor as I could fit it in, and my editors allowed. All at the same time. And I want to be clear, this was not a very quick project. It was not a, I'll knock out this over a weekend situation. This book is nearly 500 pages, covering everything from precision agriculture and operational technology to misinformation warfare and agroterrorism. Definitely went deep in this one, really deep. And doing that work right, citing things properly, telling real stories responsibly, and making sure the content was going to help people, that definitely takes time. And also, I haven't done citations since college, so that was a nice bit of learning. So yes, the podcast went a little quiet, and I made a conscious choice, split my attention and shortchange both, or do the book right and come back to the show with something worth talking about. So I chose the book, and now I get to come back to the show with the book. So that's where I've been. And I think we're going to agree it was definitely worth it. Okay, so let's get into the good stuff. The book is done. It's in its final stages of production, and it is right now, as you're listening to, available for pre-order. I'll say that again because it gives me the chills, and I'm going to try not to cry, but you can pre-order the book right now. A real thing that I wrote that exists in the world with a real cover and a foreword by one of the most respected names in food safety, Dr. Darren Detwiler, is out there waiting for you. Dr. Darren, if you're listening, thank you. Truly, having your name and your voice at the front of my book means more than I can probably express in this podcast episode. He has spent decades fighting for food safety, and he understood immediately why cybersecurity belongs in that conversation, and I am truly honored, my friend. Now, Details. You want details. Where can you pre-order it? I'm going to put the links in the show notes. I'm going to post them everywhere. I'm going to be slightly obnoxious about it for the next few months. And I'm definitely not going to apologize for it. When you write a book, you get to be obnoxious about it. That's the rule, right? I didn't make that rule, though. I'm just choosing to follow it. And I want to say something before I give you the ask. And I definitely want to say something here. When people started sending me their pre-order receipts, when they send a message saying, I got it, I pre-ordered it, I cried. For the first 48 hours of the pre-order launching, I cried at every single one of those messages. And it wasn't just that you spent the money, is that you believe in what I'm doing. You showed up, you said that with your dollar and your time. Yes, this matters. And to my Beer ISAC family specifically, you definitely know who you are. You are all ridiculously amazing human beings. Thank you, generally so much. So here's my ask, my one ask. If you have any interest in this topic, please pre-order. Pre-order numbers matter enormously for books' visibility and success. It tells publishers, retailers, and the algorithm gods that this content matters. It helps get in front of more people, and getting this content in front of more people is generally the whole point. So pre-order link, show notes, everywhere. Let's go. You know that nagging feeling? That one that says your operations might be more exposed than you realize, but a full-blown assessment feels out of reach? Traditional OT cyber physical assessments are expensive, time-consuming, and let's be honest, you get a point-in-time report that's outdated the moment something changes. That's not risk management, that's just a snapshot. That's exactly why we built Anson OT, designed by practitioners who've been in your shoes. It's one of the first subscription-based platforms for continuous quantified OT cybersecurity risk management. Not just monitoring or threat detection, but actual risk modeling built for your facilities. Whether you're managing a processing plant, a distribution center, a zoo, or even a utility, Anson OT gives you a living picture of your operational risk posture that evolves as your facility does, and turns that intelligence into actionable, prioritized tasks so you know exactly what to fix first. Subscription plans start at prices that might actually surprise you in a good way. Visit ansonot.com to explore plans and see how continuous facility-focused risk management finally fits your reality. Anson OT, risk intelligence that evolves as fast as your operations do. All right, let's talk about the book itself. And I want to start here with why. Because when I tell people I wrote a book about cybersecurity in the food and agricultural industry, there's a very specific reaction I get. It's a face. You know the face. It's a, huh? That's a thing face? And I have seen that face a lot. I've been seeing that face for years. And that face is exactly why I wrote this book. Here's the thing. We live in a world where we have more connected devices in our food system than most people realize. Your food, the stuff that's in your refrigerator right now, passed through systems involving GPS-guided tractors, automated processing lines, temperature-controlled cold chains with IoT sensors, cloud-connected distribution software, and point-of-sale systems that talk to supply chain platforms. And to use that overdone phrase, from farm to fork, there are digital touchpoints everywhere. And where there are digital touchpoints, there is an attack surface. This is not a scare tactic. It's just reality. And here's the thing that keeps me up at night. And it literally keeps me up at night, is that people managing cybersecurity in most organizations often don't have deep domain expertise in food and agriculture. And the people with that deep expertise in food and agriculture don't often have cybersecurity backgrounds or any knowledge at all. There are two worlds that need to be having a conversation. And for a long time, they weren't even in the same room. I've been fortunate enough to have had a foot in both worlds. And I keep waiting for someone to write the book that brought them together. A book that didn't just give them generic, here's what ransomware is, cybersecurity 101 content, but actually walked you through what it looked like when a food processing plant goes down, and what it means when precision agriculture sensors get compromised. What happens to cold chain when distribution companies get hit? And what the actual human cost is when the food system fails. Nobody wrote it. And then Wiley Publishing came to me and asked if I would. honestly, how do you say no to that? You just don't. So of course I said yes. And here we are, just a year later, with a book set to publish for September 29th, 2026. Yes, that is the real date. You can put it in your calendar and you can tell your friends. And look, I want to be clear about something. This topic isn't just about hackers and exploits and making things sound scary. It's also about the incredible innovations happening in the industry. The precision agriculture technology that is generally transforming how we grow food, the food science breakthroughs that require sophisticated digital infrastructure, the sustainable tech that's trying to solve climate-related agricultural challenges. This is an industry that is changing so fast, and that change has enormous implications for security. This book is not a doom and gloom siren. It's a comprehensive look at what we've built, what we're building, and the risks that go with it, and most importantly, what we can do about it. That's what every page is built around. Okay, so Kristin, who's this book for? I get this quite often, actually. I'm going to answer that in two ways: the official answer and the real answer. The official answer is, this book is for anyone working at the intersection of food, systems, and technology. That includes cybersecurity professionals whose client or employers are in the food and agricultural space. It includes food safety leaders and quality managers who need to understand cybersecurity risk. It includes operations and IT leaders in food companies who are being asked to care about security now and need context. It includes regulatory and compliance professionals. It includes ag tech entrepreneurs and investors. It includes academics and researchers. It includes government and policy folks thinking about critical infrastructure protection. That's the official answer. The real answer is, this book is for anyone who eats and is curious about how fragile or resilient the system that brings that food to them is. Because here's what I've learned in all the years in this space. The moment you make something relevant to someone's life, not abstractly relevant, not this could theoretically affect you someday relevant, but this is about the food you ate for breakfast this morning relevant, the conversation changes entirely. People get it. They lean in. They start asking questions they didn't know they had. And that's what I wrote this book to do. I want IT directors at a regional dairy co-op to read it and see their exact challenges reflected back at them. I want the food safety manager at a processing plant to get to the sections on food safety culture and cybersecurity and say, yes, this is exactly the conversation I've been trying to have with my team. I want the grad students studying agricultural policy to land on the content about digital equality and small farm technology and say, I didn't know that was a field I could even go into. I want people to feel seen because the work they're doing matters and it deserves a book. I also wrote this book for a version of me 10 years ago. The person just starting to figure out that these two worlds overlapped, looking for a resource that connected the dots. That person deserves better than having to place it together from conference proceedings and obscure white papers. This book is for that person too. Let me spend a few minutes on why this matters. Really matters, because I want to move past the, oh, that's interesting response and get the, okay, this is serious response. Food is critical infrastructure. I should probably create a t-shirt. And I'm not saying that's a talking point. Most of the international community recognizes that food and agriculture as critical infrastructure. And the US alone is one of the 16 formally designated critical infrastructure sectors, sitting right alongside energy, water, and financial services. This is not a fringe position. Food is in that list. And yet, when we look at how much attention cybersecurity and food and agriculture gets compared to, say, the power grid or the financial sector, the gap is significant. We talk endlessly about protecting the grid, and there's no hate to my fellow people who work in energy. We pour resources into financial security, but somehow the sector responsible for feeding billions of people gets comparatively less attention and fewer resources. Now, why is that? A few reasons, I think. Part of it is that food and agriculture is highly fragmented. There are tens of thousands of farms, processing distributors, retailers. Many of them are small and mid-sized. There's no single food internet you can put a perimeter around. Part of it comes down to the industry's history. It runs on physical machinery rather than IT systems. So traditional cybersecurity frameworks don't always translate clearly or cleanly. And part of it, honestly, is just visibility. We haven't had enough people loudly saying, "This matters," for long enough. Let me give you a sense of the stakes. When a food processing facility is hit with ransomware, and this has happened multiple times, including to some major names, the impact isn't just financial. Yep, production stops, products don't ship, cold chains can fail, there's potential food safety risks, and depending on the size of the company, you can start to see ripple effects in regional supply. When precision agricultural systems are compromised, so like the GPS systems, the sensor networks, the automated irrigation and fertilization systems, you're looking at a potential crop damage, wasted inputs, and in worst case, food safety issues that don't become visible until something has already moved through the supply chain. And then there's the topic that honestly took me down some dark research rabbit holes: agroterrorism and ecoterrorism. The deliberate targeting of food and agricultural systems as a weapon. This isn't science fiction, unfortunately. This is documented history. And it is something that the food industry and the security community needs to take more seriously and together. The world runs on food. I mean, it also runs on Dunkin', but that's a New Englander in me. But it does run on food. And food runs on increasingly sophisticated technology, and sophisticated technology that needs to be secured. Those three things are not separate. They're in the same sentence. That's why this matters. Okay, let's talk about what's actually inside the book, because I want to give you a little bit of a taste, and the pun is definitely intended. We're here for all the food puns of what I was working on with the book. So as I said, it's nearly 500 pages. I am clearly an overachiever for my first book. Ands and Sage. And if you're in food production, agriculture, and even running a zoo or an aquarium, we need to talk. Because let's be honest, your operation relies on a lot more technology than most people realize. Grain dryers, hatchery controls, life support systems for animal habitats, all connected, all critical, all often overlooked when it comes to cybersecurity. That's where we come in. At Ands and Sage, we help industries that grow, feed, and inspire the world manage cybersecurity and operational risks. Without the fear tactics, the fluff, or the 200-page audit you'll never read. Whether you're producing milk, processing seafood, or running life support systems, we focus on what matters, keeping your operations safe, your people protected, and your business running, even when things go sideways. And hey, we know not everyone on your team speaks cyber. And because not everyone on your team speaks cyber, we've created a free resource library at andsandsage.com. Inside, you'll find sector-specific infographics built for teams in agriculture, seafood, zoos, and aquariums. They're clear, practical, a little witty, and designed to help frontline teams understand the risks without needing a translator. No logins, no email required, no catch, just usable tools that make cybersecurity stick. If you're responsible for keeping food moving, animals safe, and systems online, Ands and Sage is your partner in real-world resilience. Visit andsandsage.com to download your free infographics, book a consult, or just learn more about how we're helping critical infrastructures secure what matters most. Ands and Sage, helping the industries that grow, feed, and inspire the world manage cybersecurity and operational risks. All right, let's talk about what's in the book. Since I said it's nearly 500 pages, there's a lot of ground to cover, and I want to give you a real sense of it. Not just the back cover version, the actual tour of the book. The book opens by laying the foundation, not just what cybersecurity in food is, but why we should have been paying attention long before now. There's a real history in there. We go back further than most people expect, because you can't understand where we are with food technology without understanding how we got there. From the first time a human figured out fire made dinner safer, to the moment a programmer wrote the first line of code that told a bottling line what to do. The context matters, and I think it will genuinely surprise people. Then we get into what I think as the sector tour. And that is where the book does something I haven't seen done before. We go sector by sector through the food and agricultural industries. And for each one, we look at how it works, what technologies are running through it, and what has actually happened when those systems are attacked. Not just hypotheticals, real incidents. So in primary agriculture, we cover traditional farms, your grain cooperatives, your livestock operations, your chicken houses. We cover precision agriculture, ag tech, because modern farming is generally a technology operation, GPS-guided tractors, drone fleets, variable rate spreaders, and yes, all of that has been targeted. We cover food production and processing, distribution and cold chain, food service, which includes everything from your local restaurant to your school lunch programs to hospital cafeterias, and yes, all of them have had incidences as well. We cover the beverage industry. I want to just name a few names because people are always surprised. Molson Coors, Brown-Forman, that's Jack Daniels, Campari, Duval. Beer, wine, and spirits all hit. Your wine is not safe. I'm really sorry to report. I don't make the rules. I'm just telling you. We go into aquaculture, which is fish farming. For anyone who just went, wait, what? And it's one of the most technologically sophisticated and underreported parts of the whole conversation. Norwegian salmon operations running underwater cameras, AI feeding systems, remotely operating vehicles, a 3-year growing cycle, and ransomware groups have absolutely found it. We cover seafood and fisheries more broadly, include GPS spoofing on commercial fishing vessels and the traceability systems trying to combat illegal fishing. That whole section was a rabbit hole I generally did not expect, and I was pleasantly surprised to learn about. We cover animal feed and nutrition, which sounds less dramatic until you understand that the software controlling feed mill formulations is life or death for the livestock depending on it. We cover agro-environmental management, which gets into everything from smart beehives. Yes, connected beehives are a thing, and yes, they can be compromised, to virtual fencing for livestock, which has currently been making the news, to the technology monitoring soil carbon for regenerative agriculture programs. And that leads right into vertical farming and controlled environmental agriculture, which is growing in warehouses and shipping containers near you right now. Singapore has a national incentive. The Netherlands has greenhouses that produce more per square foot than most anywhere on Earth, and all of that runs on connected systems. And then there's food science and innovation, so think cultivated meats, precision fermentation, 3D food printing. I have a section on 3D food printers, and before you laugh, these are already being used in clinical settings for patients who have swallowing difficulties, in outer space research, and also in fine dining, of course. And they are absolutely a cybersecurity concern because a manipulated recipe file is a real threat vector. The future of food is digital, and we're not securing it fast enough. After the sector tour, the book shifts into threat landscape. And this is where it gets technical, but also really accessible. Operational technology and industrial control systems, the PLCs and SCADA systems that run every production line, every pasteurizer, every fermentation tank. We talk about cyber physical threats. What happens when a cyber attack doesn't just take down a server, but actually puts the product, people, and animals at risk? Third-party and vendor risk, insider threats, which in this chapter I wrote carefully because it's nuanced. It's not always the disgruntled employee. Sometimes it's just exhaustion and a bad habit. And the human layer, which cuts across all of it. Training, fatigue, decision-making under pressure. We also cover some topics that don't get enough oxygen. Misinformation and disinformation are weapons against the food system. Because manufacturing a fake recall or destroying customer confidence in a brand is an attack, even if nobody touched a server. Agroterrorism and ecoterrorism are well documented and real, and they deserve a serious conversation. The intersection of food safety culture and cybersecurity culture, and the argument I make in the book, which I believe pretty deeply, is that those two cultures have even more in common than people in both rooms usually realize. And then the book closes by looking forward. Regulations, because the landscape is shifting fast, especially in the EU. Digital equality for small and mid-sized farms, because the resource gap between a large enterprise and a family farm is ginormous, and that conversation needs to happen. sustainability, and climate tech, because those systems are also an attack surface, global food system threats, cross-sector dependencies. Food doesn't just operate in isolation from energy, water, transportation, or telecommunications, and we get into what that means. And finally, how to build cyber-aware teams and why resilience over compliance is the only philosophy that's going to work long-term. And then there's the call to action, because the point of it all is not to scare you, not to overwhelm you, but to give you enough to do something, whatever seat you're in, whatever part of the industry you touch. And that's the book. Like I said, nearly 500 pages. And I'm very excited for you to get your hands on it. I want to take just a moment to talk about what it means for Bites and Bytes going forward. The short version, I'm back. I'm really back. The book is done. My brain is slowly returning to normal operating capacity, whatever that means. I have a list of guests I'm dying to bring on. Definitely have some recordings that are gold that I need to put out. People working on some of the most interesting problems at the exact intersection of food technology and security. I have topics I want to completely jump into. I have stories I want to tell. And honestly, having the book out in the world is going to make the podcast even better. Because now when I bring on a guest, I have a foundation, this shared vocabulary that we can build on, and we can go even further in our conversations than we have before. I'm also going to be honest with you. I want to grow this show. I believe in this topic. I believe it deserves a bigger audience, and I think the book is going to help with that, but more people discovering the book means more people discovering the show and vice versa. So here's what I'm asking. If you've been a listener for any amount of time, this is the moment. Share the show, share this episode, pre-order the book, and tell someone about it. Leave a review, tag a colleague who works in food or in security or both. Talk about it. Talk about food and agricultural cybersecurity. Be an ambassador for this content, because this content matters to all of us. And hey, if you're brand new here and this is your first episode, welcome. You picked a great time to start the show up. Appreciate you. All right, my friends, that is the overview. And trust me, I could go for another 3 hours and still not run out of things to say about the book. But for today, this is the big picture, the why, the who, the what, and the please, for the love of all things good in this world, pre-order the book. But for today, this is the big picture. The why, the who, the what, and the please, for the love of all things good in this world, go pre-order it. And honestly, I have a feeling a lot of the future episodes are going to be rifling on topics from this book. So you'll be hearing more, a lot more. And that's an implied wink wink. I wrote this book because I believe everyone should know how the food they eat and the food they feed their loved ones gets to their refrigerator, and how it is or isn't protected along the way. I believe cybersecurity in food systems is not a niche concern. It's a mainstream urgency that just hasn't gotten mainstream attention yet. And I believe that the people working in these spaces deserve a resource that sees them. I hope this book is a resource. I really, really, truly do. Pre-order links are in the show notes. You connect with me on LinkedIn, find me at ansandsage.com. And if you have a question, a story, a topic, or want me to cover, just reach out. My email is very visible everywhere. I mean it. I love hearing from the community, and I will usually take a call. Thank you from the absolute bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for caring about all of this stuff. Thank you for listening, for sharing, for being patient with me while I went away and wrote something I hope you'll love. And now I'm ready to re-enter society. So be patient with me as I go back out. All right, it's a wrap on this one. Stay safe, everyone. Stay curious, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now. Notice when I was going through the edit that, again, I didn't say the name of the book. It is Securing What Feeds Us, Cybersecurity in Food and Agriculture. The publisher is Wiley Publishing. The book releases officially on September 29th, 2026. The pre-order is available. I will put the links in the show notes. I will also put the link to the UK pre-order because it is separate from the EU and the US. So I hope you like it. Let me know if you got questions. Also, too, I want to let you know that I am going to be at a few conferences coming up this spring, but more coming on that later.